Now, one of the focuses of the Housing Indaba underway at the Nelson Mandela University in the Eastern Cape will be policy development. In the last 2 decades, the housing program has undergone policy revisions. This has resulted in the transformation from building houses to creating sustainable communities and sustainable urban farms. Eastern Cape Human Settlements has partnered with the Nelson Mandela University to look at these policies, among other things. SABC News reporter Lerato Fekisi and video journalist Gcobani Blom have more.
We are live in Gqeberha for a 4-day human settlement in Indaba, which the MEC Spokazlu City has promised is not just going to be a talk shop. Beyond that, it's going to be bringing together stakeholders from private sector, Nelson Mandela University, the government, all trying to find out how do we build sustainable human settlements that are giving people opportunities to have access to economic resources where they are placed. Joining me this morning is the chairman of the Human Settlements Department here at Nelson Mandela University, Professor Mbanga. Professor Mbanga, let's just first talk about the importance of Indaba, especially at a time where the Eastern Cape is facing close to 600,000 backlog dating back from 2016. How important does this Indaba then play in ensuring that we first deal with the backlog and then also ensure that we build sustainable human settlements within the Eastern Cape?
Thank you very much for that, and also thank you very much to the viewers. The Indaba is important, and its timing is even critical as the government is wrapping up on the 6th administration. Therefore, there is rethinking and replanning for the next administration of government. So the Eastern Cape is convening this Indaba with the support of the National Department of Human Settlements, Minister Gcobani. It is the first Indaba of its kind where a province would host stakeholders as policymakers, academics, financiers, private sector, civil society organizations, postgraduate students coming together under one roof to do a deeper and frank diagnosis of the shortcomings and bottlenecks facing human settlements in the Eastern Cape. It is important because over the years, the national housing policy has been under implementations, lessons have been learned, things that don't work have been seen, but the issue is that those have been seen and observed differently by different stakeholders. But now the stakeholders are coming together to share knowledge and information around what has worked thus far and what is not working. And then the Indaba becomes important in that there are participants who are not in the policy implementation space, who are undergoing research, continuous research around the issues of housing and human settlements in the country and even globally, will be sharing their own insights around the issues that are facing the implementation of housing and human settlement programs in the province. It becomes important in that nature. But critically, though amongst those invited are also the private sector, finance institutions and organizations that have worked in the spaces of land assembly, bulk infrastructure, and most importantly, there are also organizations who are on the manufacturing of the construction materials, the innovators, understanding that we've got fresh challenges with climate change impact, which require a rethink even on materials that are used to build homes and infrastructure, more so in disaster-prone areas.
Okay, Professor Banga, not cutting you there. Nelson Mandela University is one of the stakeholders that's been invited to be part of this Indaba, and they obviously play a critical role because you're bringing in, like you're saying, young researchers who come with knowledge and who are also going to make sure, like you're saying, we rethink how we build houses. How important is it going to be for NNMU to be part of this Indaba, to say we are coming with our thought leaders, we're coming with our researchers, we're coming with our innovation to try and relook and rethink how the building of housing settlements has been done in the Eastern Cape?
Yes, it is critically important for the university because the Indaba presents what we call a space for conversations, but also it triggers what we call it living labs, where young researchers and established researchers are able to exchange their research outputs. But most importantly for us, when we interface in this manner with the government sphere, with the implementers, our research, it gets better refocused, because it is not important for universities and scholars to produce an X number of outputs to achieve this level of impact factor with their outputs. What has since become important, even for established scholars, not only in South Africa, across the globe, is the extent to which the research that you undertake in your specialization does bring about change in your immediate and also the broader societal environment. So this space is created, therefore, for researchers to share their experiences, but at the same time to have their research refocus such that where research investments by like the National Research Foundations and other agencies, where grants are provided for research that is undertaken is the one that will be addressing the daunting challenges in society. As a university that is aspiring to be in service of society, we are becoming concerned increasingly about the type of research that we engage on, the type of topics, and whether that research translates into changing living conditions of people. That's what Nelson Mandela would stand for, and that's what we are pursuing as individual researchers and staff members in this university.
Lastly, Prof, you spoke about the importance of also making sure that as the department builds houses, they also take into light the global changes economically, the climate change that's happening in the country as well. We've seen in Gcobani, we've seen in Port St. John's the disasters taking place there, and it becomes important now that as we build these human settlements, we also take into light the issues of climate change in building houses that are going to be able, not firstly built in disaster-prone areas, but also houses that are going to be able to be sustained when disasters do come.
Yes, that is becoming increasingly important. It is for that reason that as a university we've got an active MOU with Eastern Cape Human Resources Department, and therefore we're called upon to provide the technical support even in the conceptualization of the Indaba. We then raise an importance of looking on the human settlement planning system itself, because you achieve as an output what you planned for. So it is important, therefore, that planning of human settlement is looked at. We call it locational decisions. Those are decisions around the choice of land where you want to settle people, not land as in pieces in a neighborhood, but even in the broader sense, territorial land. Are people settled in the type of land that they should be, or should that land be reserved for other economic activities like agriculture, forestry, and the like? And you settle people on land where you have got evidence that it can be inhabited by people. We have realized that that is a challenge not only in the Eastern Cape, the issues coming up in KwaZulu-Natal. Port St. John's as an area where the people in effect were located on the right place of land, where it is already known through climate studies that there would be some form of disasters hitting those spaces in particular intervals. That needs attention. Secondly, with climate change impacts, the construction materials that you use, you need to be certain about those. Hence the need to progressively look into the sector embracing new innovations and technologies. And as a university, we have got a capability in our knowledge hub not only to talk, but to produce prototype houses that can be used in particular climatic conditions. We've got researchers that are pursuing research on those specific materials that can work on particular climatic conditions. We want to bring that to the forefront of this Indaba discussion. The way we see it, the third issue I could raise relates to the emerging settlement patterns in the Eastern Cape. We begin to see middle-income earners building suburban homes in the rural spaces along the major transport corridors. What is that meaning for future settlement patterns in the Eastern Cape and for even municipal service provision? So we are saying that we need to sober, be calm, and look clearly on what is happening in the space and how do we order space. As planners would say, it's not only about housing, it's about space ordering. That means settling people in the right spaces, and therefore looking on the type of materials that would be working for the right spaces that have settled people. That is the focus.
Thank you so much. Well, that was Professor Gcobani Mbanga, who is the head of human settlements in NMU, speaking about the importance that the university is going to play in this Indaba, saying that they bring a hub of knowledge, a hub of researchers who are not only looking at how to build houses, but wanting to make sure they build the sustainable houses, making sure the material that's used can withstand issues of climate change. Also saying that it's important to look at where exactly houses are built in disaster-prone areas and making sure that people don't build houses there. Importantly, saying that the NMU comes in at a time where the department is trying to relook how houses are done, making sure that houses are built in areas where people have got access to economic resources and can thrive within the human settlements places. For now, let's go back to the studio.